I swim out and I look back at my house, and the thing that fills my day, the house and children and everything, is in the distance.
In Scotland, the open water swimming they call wild swim. So we're going to go there, and it gets academic. Then we're going to hear from Mick and Sue Nelson one more time as he does a wonderful service that's very heavy. Then we're going to hear from another podcast that hit the mainstream media about a gentleman and how it shook his life when he lost his brother. So sorry for being so heavy.
You know, in our super digital world, especially after everything in the last few years, it really feels like more and more of us are just yearning to get back to nature. You see it everywhere, don't you? People actively searching out local parks, lakes, rivers, just looking for some quiet.
And this desire, it really points to those often kind of intangible benefits we get from being in nature. In the research world, we talk about these as cultural ecosystem services, CES. The way we've traditionally tried to measure or value these services, they often fall a bit short. Well, they tend to be really linear, like A leads to B leads to C with these pre-decided outcomes, and that just misses so much of the complexity.
We're going to introduce you to a really innovative way of thinking about this stuff. It's called the Facilitating Act Framework, or FAF.
And this framework, it really challenges those linear ideas. It helps us understand the much more complex relational ways that values actually emerge when we interact with nature. Looking at the experiences of women in Scotland who practice wild swimming.
Why do we even need this new framework?
Right.
As we mentioned, there's this huge interest now in making sure people can access good quality, local green and blue spaces. And those benefits, you get better well-being, feeling like you belong somewhere. They're well documented in that CES literature. It's often framed as what nature gives us, right?
But what's really interesting, or maybe problematic, is how studies trying to value these services often follow these very straight paths, sort of like a checklist almost, with outcomes decided beforehand.
Can you give an example of that?
Sure. Think of something like the cascade model of ecosystem services. It basically says, okay, benefits start with a physical thing, like a forest, then they transform through some ecological process, and then we get the benefit.
Okay.
It's very much a one-way street. We kind of predict the benefit before the interaction even really unfolds.
So if it's just a one-way street, what are we actually missing? What's getting lost in translation about how people really experience nature?
That's the key question. This linear approach does not allow for the complexities of diverse human values expressed through culture. There's a real risk there, a risk of loss of understanding, because we're kind of closing off ways values might emerge before we've even spotted them. A lot of the values people get from nature are actually all tangled up together. They experience them as a whole thing, not just separate benefits you can tick off.
So it sounds like there's a bit of a worry that maybe institutions, or even some of these valuation methods, are too focused on living from nature, seeing it as a resource.
That's a big part of it, and potentially overlooking the importance of people living in, with, and as nature.
That's a powerful distinction.
It is. We really need to shift our focus towards these interwoven human-nature interactions. You know, how do people actually engage with the natural space, and why do they do it? Because while those broader CES studies might capture the outcomes, say, improved mood, they often stop short of improving our understanding of how such values emerge.
And that's the gap the Facilitating Act framework tries to fill.
Precisely. It helps us understand the how. How do these values actually come into being? So the FAF basically moves away from seeing nature and culture as totally separate boxes. It sees them as deeply intertwined. And at its heart, the FAF puts the act front and center. So the act is basically any interaction people have with nature. It could be recreational stuff like hiking, swimming, bird watching, or cultural practices. Anything that happens in a space where people encounter the more than human.
More than human, meaning plants, animals, the landscape itself.
Not just other people. And the motivation for starting with the act is this core idea that understandings of values only emerge through first following people's various interactions with nature. You have to watch the interaction unfold first.
It's less about predicting the outcome and more about focusing on the process of how people act within nature.
Focusing on the process allows a diversity of emerging values to be more clearly traced. And this whole approach rests on three key pillars. First is participant autonomy. Basically, the people involved, the participants, they get to drive the direction of understanding value. It's bottom up, not top down. We're listening to their values, not imposing ours.
That sounds much more democratic almost. What's the second pillar?
Second is open-ended parameters. So while you might focus on a specific act like wild swimming, the process of understanding the values that come from it is totally open-ended.
Meaning you don't go in expecting to find just relaxation or exercise.
You're open to whatever emerges, even if it's surprising or unexpected.
Okay. And the third pillar.
The third one is really crucial, understanding processes over outcomes. This means there's no a priori defined outcome, no preset goal, like we must find evidence of improved mental well-being.
Right.
Instead, the real goal is getting a deeper understanding of the process. How do people actually come to experience these natural spaces through their interactions with nature, and sometimes with each other too? It's about the unfolding story.
Social relations do not spring out of the ground.
But they do develop from the process of going walking in the hills with other people.
Right.
Yeah.
And at the same time, while you're building those social connections, you might also be boosting your physical health, your mental well-being, appreciating the beauty around you, feeling a connection to that specific place.
It's all happening at once, all emerging from that single act of walking together in nature. It's interwoven.
Women, wild swimming, and community in Scotland. First off, why wild swimming? For the study, they define it pretty simply, right? Swimming outdoors in natural water.
Yeah, basically swimming outdoors in a natural or semi-natural bodies of water, excluding outdoor pools, and swimming in a competitive nature. So lakes, rivers, the sea.
It feels like an ancient practice almost. And it's known for its benefits, connecting people to blue spaces, improving quality of life.
But surprisingly, the research notes there's been little research focusing on how the act of wild swimming in itself actually contributes to these cultural ecosystem services, these CES values, and specifically how those values emerge through the act itself.
Apparently, women make up the vast majority of the wild swimming community. The numbers are quite striking, like 82% in one survey, 65% in another.
Yet most studies before this just lumped men and women together.
Which means you miss things, right? Like potentially gendered attitudes towards these ecosystem services.
The paper points out women often report more positive physical and mental health benefits from it, and they also tend to place a greater importance on the community and socializing aspects compared to men.
So understanding women's perspectives isn't just about filling a data gap.
No, it's much more than that. The research suggests it can help challenge negative perceptions of women in the outdoors, promote body positivity, and really support and recognize their physical capabilities.
It's about empowerment through connecting with nature.
Recognizing the unique values that emerge for them in these spaces.
They found 4 distinct types or personas of wild swimmers.
There was a lot of common ground. Pretty much everyone agreed that keeping safe is vital. Also, that getting into nature is empowering. There was maybe a little bit of disagreement about gear and equipment, but not much. And crucially, supporting your fellow swimmers in all senses is important. The main differences then seem to revolve around how they interact with community and its importance to them.
Okay, so let's meet persona 1, the competitive edge.
These swimmers tended to swim a bit less frequently, and their style was maybe closer to competitive open water swimming. Their sense of community was more focused on a smaller, direct group of friends, or maybe others swimming at a similar level. So for them, deep respect for the water, taking personal responsibility for safety, but maybe feeling a bit less connected to the broader, more social, wild swimming scene.
Okay, persona 2, connection to nature seekers, factor B.
Now, these swimmers valued group bonding, definitely, but they were just as focused, if not more so, on escaping their busy lives and really connecting deeply with the natural environment.
Like participant 15, who said,
I'm an early swimmer and I do that so that I can get the birds. They really appreciate the risks involved, they educate themselves, they like close human connection, but aren't keen on big, potentially noisy groups. They feel part of this huge tribe of wild swimmers in a general sense, but they also have this feeling of being outsiders sometimes, and can get annoyed by people who disturb the peace or seem to take unnecessary risks. It shows that strong desire for genuine, almost sacred nature time.
Okay, persona 3, sharers and carers, factor C.
For these women, it's all about the shared experience. They thrive on the almost unconditional support of their group.
Community is central.
They're often part of very close-knit groups with a lot of respect for each other, and they're described as hugely welcoming to new people.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, and they often have a strong social media connection too, but use it mainly to share positive vibes and experiences within their sort of smaller community circle.
It's all about community and supporting each other.
Everyone should just enjoy it their own way.
A very inclusive group. Okay, and the final one, persona 4, the enablers, factor deep.
Right? The enablers. These are the women who actively want to make sure that everyone is able to partake. They go out of their way to encourage and help others get the benefits of wild swimming.
They sound incredibly generous.
They really do. Participant 21 captures this perfectly. I do it for other people. Someone wants to swim and I've already been out and I'm not desperate, but they are. Then actually I will go out. It doesn't kill me.
Wow, that's real dedication to helping others experience it.
They're super welcoming to newbies, very focused on helping with safety advice, and their groups often span a huge age range, from kids to people in their 80s, including men too. They're generally accepting, but like others, they do express some judgment towards people who take risks that might put others in danger. Safety is still paramount.
But they all came together on one point.
There was one statement that was consistently ranked positively across all four groups. It's like the universal truth of wild swimming for these women.
What was it?
It's about how it makes me feel, not how others perceive that I feel.
Oh, that's powerful.
Isn't it? The researchers say this truly captures the sentiment of all participants. It highlights that incredibly personal journey and the individual meaning found in every swim. Why would I put a load of gear in the car, leave the house, drive, park, faff around, put on a wetsuit, just for somebody else to think I was having a good time?
It's for you. Key messages.
Community, support, and a sense of belonging, both physically and virtually, are important. That came through strongly.
Okay, and second.
Second, confidence and safety in the water have a huge effect on the experience. And crucially, this confidence is often facilitated by the presence of others. Having that group support makes a real difference.
Right, safety in numbers, but also shared knowledge. What was third?
Third was a bit surprising. Most conflicts that people hear about are not personally seen and may well be a storm in a teacup as a result of connection through social media.
Ah, so maybe online chatter amplifies conflict more than reality.
Potentially, yeah. What people actually experience day to day seemed less conflict-ridden than maybe the online discourse suggests.
Interesting. And the fourth key message. This one united everyone.
Yes. The biggest source of concern is over the risk and lack of respect for nature that comes from outside the wild swimming community.
Not from other swimmers.
Largely not. As participant 21 put it, there's a lot of disrespect for the environment. It's not swimmers. They see the issues coming from littering, pollution, or disruptive behavior by non-swimmers using the same spaces.
That's a really important distinction. Okay, so let's connect this back to the bigger picture, to the FAF framework.
Yeah.
How did using that open-ended approach help uncover specific values here?
Well, precisely because the FAF didn't predefine outcomes, it allowed these perhaps unexpected values to really surface clearly.
Like what?
Like the huge importance of building social relations. This was vital across all the groups, whether it was those close friendships formed lakeside or the connections built in online swim forums.
The immunity again.
Also, a really strong sense of place emerged. Swimmers got deeply attached to their regular swimming spot. They felt comfortable, confident, and a little protective of it.
They become stewards of the place almost.
In a way, yes. And they started learning about the local wildlife, the plants, the seasonal changes. And then there was this recurring theme of meditative calm and peace.
Ah, the mental benefits.
Yes, but framed often as something deeper, almost a spiritual and religious CES, tied to that feeling of immersion, of being fully present and connected with the natural world.
How does this research challenge the current approach to wild swimming?
Well, it raises some really important questions. Current policy, particularly safety advice, often focuses almost entirely on risk prevention and avoiding danger.
Swim only on lifeguarded beaches, wear a wetsuit, take a phone.
Exactly. But here's the rub. As the study points out, there are only 8 officially lifeguarded beaches in the whole of Scotland, mostly concentrated in one area.
So that advice is impractical for most people.
For many, yes. And beyond that, think about the motivation. So many swimmers are seeking escape, disconnection from the digital world.
Right, so telling them to take a phone with them directly clashes with why they're doing it.
Precisely. It creates this real paradox. And the researchers worry that this strong risk and danger rhetoric might actually be putting off people who could really benefit from swimming.
While also maybe alienating experienced swimmers who could help share safety knowledge.
Alienating those who could actually contribute to better, more localized advice and guidance. Plus, any move to heavily restrict access to these swimming spots would just destroy that physical community grounded in the sense of place that so many women need. Discovering that for some women, connection and confidence didn't just come from calm, serene water, it actually came from the thrill of being in crashing waves.
Which probably wouldn't fit the standard risk-averse advice model.
Not at all. So this suggests that better policy isn't about imposing rigid one-size-fits-all rules. It's about facilitating information flows to support local safety knowledge.
How would that work?
Things like making tide times, weather warnings easily accessible, maybe supporting swimming lessons adapted for open water, and doing this through the existing local groups supporting them.
So instead of trying to regulate these often quite fluid organic groups
You support and help facilitate their activities. The idea is that this would foster the very community spirit and the values that the study found were so important.
and strengthening those local community-place connections could have wider benefits too.
The paper mentions,
And the study also highlights how wild swimming differs from formal sports.
yeah, this is a key point. It's fundamentally non-competitive. The value lies in the experience, feeling, and being in nature over swimming farther, longer, and faster.
It's not about winning.
No. And that provides a really important breakaway from the historical and social norms of more formalized sport, which, let's face it, can often feel exclusionary or judgmental. Wild swimming, particularly in these women's groups, fosters supportive cooperation and body positivity. And remember that finding that many women didn't have large friends before they started swimming. It shows how this activity actively generates a system of social values and strengthening of social relations that are grounded in connections to place. It builds community.
And our journey into that wild swimming case study in Scotland powerfully showed just how essential community is, whether it's face-to-face groups or online support networks.
Yeah, it showed how community enables women's interactions with these natural spaces and fosters really profound values, connection, place, well-being, support.
So here's a final thought for you to mull over as you go about your week. Think about an act in your own life, something that connects you deeply to nature and maybe to other people too. Could be walking, gardening, bird watching, anything. And then just reflect. Are there existing norms, maybe even subtle policies or expectations that might be unintentionally getting in the way of those connections rather than helping them flourish? What small shifts in perspective, or maybe in how we support local organic initiatives like those swimming groups, could unlock even more value and build stronger human-nature relationships for you and for your whole community? Something to think about.
How do you keep your sanity? The trauma of reading about this.
Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I do that anyway because as a coach, come on, we're on. Even if we only have morning practices 3 or 4 days a week, we usually have meet weekend. We're up at 3:15, 3:30, getting ready to go. So I get up at 4 o'clock, coffee, computer, from 4:15 until 7:15. It's Dr. Jack. It's basically Mr. Hyde. I'm basically going through all the drownings from all our reports. Uh, just on a year, last year, we reviewed 256,000 postings. Okay. So it does take time. You get really good at it, being able to pick up things that aren't USA, even though we have filters and screens, they still get through especially on some of our pay for search engines. But you go through, you categorize, and then you turn it off at 7:30 and you become Dr. Jekyll and you just go about your daily thing. You check it about 11, pick up the 2 or 3 that came in this time of year, especially. You do the same thing at 3 o'clock. You do the same thing at 5 because of our time zone differences. There's a flood coming in during that 3-hour time period. And then you check it really quickly about, you know, 8 o'clock before you hit the sack. One time a month is a daily, all day thing because we're compiling and posting online. That's Sue's thing. And so she is really tied up a lot of hours that first or second day of the month, getting the updated information posted on our website. I think you have to divide it in your mind. Do I get pissed off and say,
Oh, yeah.
and say bad words at stupid parents, that, fell asleep because they were on drugs, that were playing Angry Birds in the hallway when their child drowned? Do I get mad at them? Yeah, not personally, but yeah, situationally I do. Then you have to get over it. I'm not getting calloused at it at all. It affects me.
No, he
It
gets
affects me
very
now,
emotional.
the same as it does. I saw a 1-year-old girl in Pennsylvania, in Philadelphia, die yesterday in a bathtub. And when I see Pennsylvania, I think of Mark. I think of different people in different areas of when they have drownings in that area.
And then your heart goes out to the ones that
A lot of times,
accidents
I
happen.
know you got your finger on the pulse of the press in Pennsylvania. A lot of time these people don't. We're working really closely with swim angelfish, and they're doing a lot of the work with special needs children, autism on the spectrum, Down syndrome. So last year we started tracking for them special spreadsheets and helping them have up to the minute data for their presentations that they're doing with their customers. So we'll send them stuff. We'll send some of our sponsors stuff when they ask for it. We worked long and hard with Chuck Warner in New Jersey when he left Rutgers, started his swim school, and then immediately became aware of drowning as a problem. Okay, and so he's been extremely active with the New Jersey coalition with drownings, and so we have those different contacts in different areas. Sometimes we get to vent frustrations to them.
We're not giving up.
You're listening to Radio Lab.
Radio Lab.
From
WNYC.
Rewind. And if you ask Jim, he'll tell you this all goes back to when he was 7.
At the age of 7, I lost my kid brother in the Mississippi River. I saw him drown, and
You saw him drown?
yeah, I witnessed him drowning. We wandered away from home. We were not properly supervised by my parents, and I told my brother not to go over into the river because it was deep. He didn't listen to me, and then the currents dragged him down. I saw him bob up and down 3 times, and the 3rd time he didn't come back up. And I was pleading with God, crying, please bring him back. I'm going to be in trouble.
And when Jim's parents found out, they blamed him.
It was my fault my brother drowned. I should have should have saved him. And then other times they told me that, they wish it was me that died instead of my brother.
And then when he was 16, Jim's mom threw him out of the house. She just said one day, "Get out, Jim?"
Yeah, she said she didn't want me over there anymore. Get out.
After that, Jim's life kind of spiraled out of control. He ended up living on the streets for years and just getting angrier and angrier at everyone around him. And then, in 2005, which is where our part of the story begins, Jim did something that got him in very serious trouble. Tell me about the Archbishop situation.
You're going to have to listen to Radiolab to hear the whole story from Jim. We put links in the show notes or catch us on the Substack.